Today's guest is Michael Land, a blue-eyed soul artist based out of Phoenix, Arizona. As a full-time performer, Michael has had the opportunity to open for Rob Thomas from Matchbox 20, perform the national anthem at MLB and NBA games, and book over 250 shows a year, ranging from original shows to weddings, resorts, corporate events, and private parties. Michael's passion for singing has motivated him to create the Michael Land Singing Program, a comprehensive guide to finding your best voice. I'm super excited about today's episode. Michael and I talked about this for quite some time, and we finally were able to get our calendars aligned. He came on, we had a great show. We started from the beginning and how he learned how to sing and perform, all the way up to what he's doing today. And we'll dig a little deeper into his singing program. But for now, sit back for a moment and listen to a small snippet of one of Michael's songs.
Let me hear you say, do what you want, be who you are. You're gonna go far. Oh, open your mind and dream anything. If you wanna sing this, sing. Just be who you are. Oh, be who you are. Oh, come on, help me sing.
Hey, welcome to the Joe Costello Show. I'm really excited today to have a special guest, my buddy and a super talented singer-songwriter, guitarist, Michael Land, who lives here in Phoenix. And welcome, man. Really glad to have you here.
Man, I'm honored to be on the first show, man.
Yeah, finally we get to do this.
Brother.
Yeah,
I know we've been talking about it a long time.
man. We've talked about a lot of things for a long time. We're getting stuff done. We're not letting anything get in our way.
Come on, let's do this.
Yeah. All right. So what I wanted to do is literally start from the beginning. So I want you to take me back to the beginning and give the listeners an idea on how this all started for you. You can start with what was your first instrument, or maybe you started singing. You didn't even have a first instrument. But I just want to start, give at least the foundation of where all this began.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. And I need to take just a couple of seconds to just, first of all, tell you thank you for your friendship and what you've meant to me and my family, man. You've really helped be a catalyst for me in Phoenix, and providing a lot of valuable income and opportunities and relationships, and have been a great friend on this journey for me. And I just wanted to throw you some love and respect and tell you how much I appreciate you, and just what a joy it's been to work with you, man. And I say that because I think a lot of artists, a lot of musicians feel like we have to do it all on our own, and we kind of get a little bit like, I've got to, be super successful just on my own and be, Mr. Independent and Mrs. Independent, or whatever, that mentality. But, man, you've really given me hope that I can build a team, and it takes a team to make dreams come true. And anyway, I don't want to get too long-winded with that, bro, but I don't have enough love for you, man. I really do. I can't tell you enough how much I appreciate you. But anyway, man, I
appreciate that. You can't just say that and then not let me thank you. No, I appreciate it. Thank you.
You bet, man. You bet. It's important to lay that foundation. But as far as musically goes, man, I sang my first solo when I was 7 years old. I grew up in church, and when I was 7 years old, I sang a solo in church in front of this little church in a little town called Anahuac, Texas, in southern Texas. And man, talk about backwoods, man, country. They're like the alligator capital of Texas, and they're really proud of it, man. There's only a couple thousand people in this town. But grew up there, and I just started singing in church. And then when I was about 11 or 12, I got a leading role in a community musical, Oliver Twist. And I was Oliver, man, and it was a big deal. And it was a good experience, man. I remember the lady that was the director. I was singing through my parts, and I was in front of everybody. And she said, "No, young man, you need to sing from right here." And she punched me in the gut. And it wasn't a hard punch, but I wasn't ready for it, man. And it hit my stomach. And then I continued to try to sing, and I was like half crying, and I'm saying, I'm like singing, but it was like the real world of, hey, if you're going to perform, you got to do it with confidence. You got to belt it out, and I'll never forget that. And it really was a gift because, those 3 nights, me coming out at the end and taking a bow and people standing ovation and be like, wow, man, I just did what I loved and people liked it. Like it was crazy. It was crazy for me. So that was a little taste of like, man, I think I want to do this the rest of my life, even though I probably really wasn't thinking that. It just felt good. It felt right. And it was natural. It was authentic. And then I started writing music when I was 14.
Wow.
And I remember it hitting me kind of like a wave. And I didn't know how to write music. And I didn't have a way to record my music. So I would just put little hash marks, I guess similar to music notes. Na, 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 na. As whatever I was singing, I would like do hash marks up if it was going higher, hash marks down, so I would try to remember the melodies of these songs. And I remember writing in a notepad in my little bedroom, making music at 14. And that just, I kept doing that, kept writing music. And growing up in church, it's interesting because Ryan Tedder with One Republic, we have a little similar background in that we both grew up singing music in church. And I agree with what he says. He says that when you grow up writing church music, you learn how to write a hook because by the second time the chorus hits, you want everybody singing along with you. It's because it's congregational.
Yeah.
And so you want to write something that's catchy, that's singable, and simple. And so he'll tell anybody he learned how to write hooks, writing church music. And that's really where I started and how all this began for me too. And then, moved into college and I was always on stage and couldn't get away from singing, man. This is the big part of what I do. And that led to, let me see, man, it's been a few years, brother. I'm trying to get back here.
You're too young to lose your memory, man.
Knock the dust off some of these years. But no, I met my wife in college.
When did you pick up the guitar?
Okay, so that was in late high school. I started messing around with it. I actually quit guitar lessons at 14. My parents were paying for it, and they bought me a little $100 guitar. And I kicked myself because of it, because I know I'd be a lot better, But I was active, man. I was singing all the time. I was on stage and doing a lot of stuff, and so I kind of put it down and picked it back up in college. And what motivated me to keep playing guitar was because I wanted to accompany myself as a singer. Right. So it's always been the singing that's kind of driven everything I've done. And so from there, my wife and I got married in college. I worked for a church, and I was on staff at a church doing music and doing some teaching, and it's what I went to school for. And then I got an opportunity to audition for a group called New Song. And this was a really big contemporary Christian group. They've been around about 25 years. And a cousin of mine had been doing the lighting for them while they were on tour. And he said, hey, man, they got an opening. And so, we were in Missouri at the time. My wife and I drove with our little baby. We had one kid. We have 5 now. You can see the picture. We collected a few kids along the way, and they got bigger. But anyway, so we drove to Nashville, man, and I auditioned for this group called New Song, and they said, we want you on tour. And so they did these big tours, and they still do them. They're called Winter Jam Tour. And they take about 10 artists, and they charge a really cheap door fee. So people get in for cheap, and they see all these big artists, and they're in these arenas. So literally, my first concert in the real music industry was in front of 8,500 people. I stepped in and, because they had a couple of lead singers. And so I stepped right in, and I literally, the words to this song that I was singing that I had a solo for was on the monitor, and I could see my face on the Megatron screen. I was so nervous, man. I just got thrown right into the fire, and it was a tour bus. It was on tour. It was I think the Bilo Center in somewhere in South Carolina. But yeah, I just remember there being over 8,000 people there, and like, whoa, here we go, man. And so I was on tour away from home 2-3 weeks at a time. I did that for about 6 months, and that was cool. There was like radio interviews. I sang background vocals on the next album. They had plans to put me on the album, but at about the 6-month mark, being away from my family 2-3 weeks at a time, I wasn't ready for the road, man. And so, we had baby number 2 coming. And so I decided to get off the road, and I auditioned for a 50 show in Branson, Missouri, a little town in Missouri. And they've got about 100 plus live shows that they do, and kind of a tourism spot for the Midwest. And I was able to.
Isn't it like the Vegas of the South or something like that?
It kind of is, man. It's like,
I think my parents vacationed there.
Oh yeah, man. They have a lot of stuff going on. They have a big theme park called Silver Dollar City, and so it's a pretty big deal, man. So for the next 4 years, I was able to sing 50s music for a living with a live band behind me, and see my family at night, and do music, So I was a professional singer, dancer. I actually had to get my dance on, bro. I had never danced.
I'll pay to see those clips.
I had never danced in my life, man. I was just a little church boy, man. You know what I mean? Like the most that I did was like in a church choir, maybe a little step touch or a little sway. But dude, I had to learn how to dance and throw these girls, and I'm literally flipping girls behind my back.
Oh my gosh.
Doing all those tricks. But once I got it, man, I was obviously the most improved dancer. By the time show number 1 hit, like I had done like hours of dancing in the kitchen to get ready, because I wanted to be able to sing and do this for a living, because it was just cool, man. It was, it was awesome, and so I got it, and I felt like Gene Kelly or Fred Astaire,
nice.
These guys that did all the musicals. It felt great, and what ended up being a really great experience. And did that for 4 years, man. And then the economy crashed in 08, 09, and they shut down all the shows.
Yeah.
And, or a lot of them. And so I was like, well, we had 4 kids, and baby number 5 was on the way. And we literally sold everything we had. I borrowed my brother-in-law's pop-up camper, and we drove to Nashville to pursue the dream. And we lived in camper and lived with friends, and I worked 3 different jobs and gigged at night. And I was singing demos for producers, for songwriters, and just doing everything that I could and trying to write with people. And I was a valet parker. I was stocking groceries. I was trying to sell insurance. I was doing everything, I possibly could. And so we were there for a couple years. And I found.
Well, let me ask you this, because this is important.
Yeah, go ahead. Because
at this stage, this is an important question for me to ask you. When you said you were there to kind of go after the dream, right? The quote dream, that we air quotes, right? For anybody listening to this audio wise, a lot of times that does come with touring. So the fact that you had 4 kids, 1 on the way, and you had already realized that the touring life wasn't for you, what did you think? How did you think you were going to maneuver around not having to tour if you got picked up by a record label or whatever?
Right. Well, I think at that point, I was just hoping to build the right relationships. Being in Nashville and being a singer and songwriter, I was open that, excuse me, I was open that if it could be, if it could be through the songwriting world, cool. Maybe it would open up that way. I could get a publishing deal or something. But I was just more concerned about proximity, being around other musicians and other opportunities. And I had learned from the New Song experience and being on tour, and had learned a lot from getting to do a show like that in Branson. But the hunger to write music, because I was actually starting to gig. I didn't mention that, but when I played my first gig as a singer-songwriter while I was in Branson, it was at like a coffee shop. And so that's when I started gigging, as an artist myself. And that's what really motivated to go ahead and move to the Nashville area. But it really wasn't in my mind. We were just taking it as it came in a lot of ways, but but there's no doubt that having a family, being married, being committed to these things, have always played a big part in everything. I'm even, even having a wife that's willing to pick up and move cross country like that with,
Yeah.
with all these kids, man, it says a lot about my wife, and she's really is a lot more entrepreneurial and driven her just naturally than me. And it's been a big driving force, but yeah, I think we were just taking it as it came, bro. I really do.
So, because it was one of the questions that I had, was about, I remember you and I having a conversation about you moving a lot. And I think just based on the fact of what you just explained, you've sort of answered that question. It was about following the dream and having to go to where you thought the opportunities would exist. And obviously going from Branson to someplace like Nashville was an obvious choice.
Yeah. It was, big time. I think influenced by the idea of like, we need to make the right connections, and I need to get around some people that are doing this on the scale that I want to do it on,
Right.
a bigger scale. And it's really been about authenticity too, for my wife and I, and that's even today is even bigger than ever. But yeah, it really was, it was a driving force for sure with all these moves.
Right. Okay. And then, so when did you get to Phoenix? When did you,
Yeah.
So was it when things, so tell me when that happened.
So I'll make some quick jumps. We stayed in Nashville a couple of years. My father-in-law and mother-in-law came down to visit us, and they were in Alaska at the time. That's when my wife was born, and she's got a lot of family there, and he was doing construction work. He's a plumber. And I found out what they were making at a lot of these government jobs, and I said, wow, we were like, man, I could work for him for about a year, and we could pay off a lot of debt, and then maybe move somewhere where we could plant some roots forever. And so we did that, man. I loved Nashville, but I needed to make more money. I needed to do some things for my family. So we moved from Nashville to Alaska and lived in Alaska for 1 year, bro. I mean, it's a big jumps, man. And our youngest was 1. Matter of fact, the week we moved there, he learned to walk. Toby, our youngest.
Wow.
So anyway, I worked for a year, and I was in crawl spaces, and had a wrench in my hand, and working, building medical clinics, in some of these Eskimo villages, and it was a great experience. But there's only so much singing you can do in a crawl space, my friend. At some point, I was like, my God, man, I've got to sing again, man.
Right.
And
Exactly.
and so at that point, I was open to anything, and I honestly, I didn't think I'd go back to church work. Even that's kind of where I started, but I was looking online, and there was a church in Scottsdale that had a music director position, and they were looking for somebody that was a little soulful, and I was like, all right, some of the description was kind of describing me, and that's, they paid for our move. They flew us down as an entire family, and I don't know how we would have got all the way down to Phoenix, the Phoenix area, had they not helped us out. And so that was such a blessing. And we literally went from icy cold, dark Alaska to sunny Scottsdale. The pastor I was working for, he was the chaplain for the Phoenix Suns. So I got my guitar, I'm walking into the Suns arena, like I'm singing for the NBA guys, and like, I'm like, what is this, man? Like out of nowhere, going from a crawl space to singing again was really cool. And I did that for about 4 years. And then I stepped down 5 years ago to sing for everybody, to really keep pursuing the artist. And that's, of course, how I got to know you and the relationships. And that's where we end up, where we are today. But that was about 9 years ago. Since we
and I think when you stepped down from the church is pretty much right when I met you, I think.
Yeah, I think
because we had a conversation about how you were going to just go a little bit more mainstream, and that's cool. So I guess the takeaway from where we are in the conversation right now is that your wife's a good woman. She actually just wherever your world took you, she's like, okay, let's do this.
Hey, I love giving her credit, bro. I love, getting back to her because again, I'm a little more compliant. Hey, tell me what to do. And she's more create something to do, she's been more driven like that. And every time I get discouraged, she kind of just says, go sing, and
Yeah.
sure enough, I come home and I'm like, man, I love what I do. Like I'm supposed to do this. And yeah. And so, and we still almost every day, man, we have conversations about what are we creating? I had a good business friend of mine say, what's your lowest hanging fruit? What is it that you can take and you can monetize? And that's always been my voice. And we're having a lot of conversations right now, man, because we got a lot of time on our hands to work on this stuff. But yeah, she's amazing, man. I'm really thankful. It really takes a team, and she's been my team all the way through, bro. And
I get it.
We counted, man, 19 moves, man. I'm not kidding. We've been married 18 years. A lot of that was moving from one house to the next. We were buying houses for a little bit before the economy hit, but 3 of those were major cross country moves,
Yeah, I know she's a good one. I know she's tough too, because I think I'm the nicest guy in the world, and she was like, I don't know. Are you sure you want to do that whole thing with Joe and on stage?
Oh yeah, man.
I know we're still we're still dating at this point.
Oh no, we're all in, man. We're all in. She just said, just don't sign anything. You promised me you're not going to sign anything. I was like, hey, a handshake is as good with Joe because of our relationship as anything, and so we know, we know what's up, so that's been good, man. It's been a good trust building experience, and it's everything we have done has lined up with our goals.
Good.
It's been fun.
Yeah. Well, I'm happy. It makes me happy too. So, so if I go to one of my questions here, it was about when did you make the leap to full-time musician? So would have that been when you left being the musical director at the church?
Yeah, I would say so. When I really started getting more focused about a business plan, and again, a lot of that is I still struggle with some of that, and I let my emotions get involved too much rather than really stay focused on the business side, but it really, it was 5 years ago when I stripped away everything that was comfortable. And even though it was great and was thankful, that gave me a foundation in Phoenix to have a job like that. It was time to grow.
So around 2015, you're saying is when you went. Okay, cool. All right. So this is an important question, and you and I talked about this before. And I think this is going to be super helpful for anybody that listens to this. Is what do you attribute to the current success that you are having? And I know what it is based on all the entertainers that I get to see and deal with and how they respond and all of that. But I kind of want to hear I don't want to be the person that dictates what I think makes it. You're doing it. You're over 250 shows a year, right? So you're doing it. So what do your opinion as a performer, as opposed to me as like the booking agent guy?
Yeah, well, I think it's so funny, man. I just thought of it. It's 3 things, but it's actually an acronym: CAR, C-A-R, consistency, attitude, and relationships. What car are you going to drive? I'm literally just thinking this.
That's awesome.
my car has been C, consistency, attitude, and relationships. And obviously I know I have talent. I love to sing. I've been told that all of my life. So at this point in my career, it's not like I'm trying to decide or figure out if I'm talented at this or not. So the talent has already been established and was when I was young. But it's the CAR. This is the vehicle that I'm driving is consistency, attitude, and relationships. Hands down.
You know what? I wish you could add an extra R to that, because I would say responsiveness. Yeah. Because that, to me, it's literally the most pain that I get. Okay. On my side, it's just like, hey, I have a gig. Can you let me know if you can do it or not? Yeah. And that's just crickets for the longest. It's like, I'm handing you work. I just need to know if you can do it. And you and I are just back and forth, when stuff when we need to
Yeah.
work on stuff, it just boom, 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 we get it done and we're on, you know?
Yeah, well, it could be another R, or it could be under that consistency. That's a part
Yeah.
of the consistency
Yeah.
that you have to bring, is you have to be consistently in communication with
Yep.
whoever you're working with. And when you get to our level, where we're working at these really high end events with massive clients, you know, that are, I mean, they're big names on the stock market. You know, it's like some of these companies that we're working with. So it's like,
Yep.
you know, you have to be communicating. You got to be consistent.
Yep.
So I totally get it, man. It's a good point.
Well, cool. So this is the opposite side of it, because we talked about what has made you successful and what we both agree on. But what do you think causes so many musicians to fall short on being able to sustain themselves as a working musician?
I think I would probably start with expectation. Having an expectation that it's supposed to look a certain way. If all you do is compare yourself to an artist on the radio, and there's a little bit of an artist ego, you know, or entitlement, then I think that keeps a lot of people from really breaking through it. And I'll give you an example, if you don't mind. I'll expound on that. During this last 5 years, because I've always been struggling, man, who am I as an artist? You know,
Mm-hmm.
I could go all these different, stylistically go these different ways. And even in my song list, I've got, you know, from Frank Sinatra to Otis Redding to Maroon 5 to Tom Petty. You know what I'm saying? You have to, you know, be flexible with who you have on your song list. But like, I can go a lot of different directions. But whenever I put the expectations of what I was expecting everybody to make me into, or you know, the success I was expecting to have, when I put that on the shelf, and I just said, you know what, I'm just going to sing, and I'm going to give my gift to this community, the very best of my ability, and just started going for it. Just started saying yes to everything initially, and getting out there. Then you really do, you know what you like and don't like, and what works and don't work. I'm not a real heavy dance band kind of guy. You know, I work real well in the corporate and, you know, the resort setting, you know, because I can, if I need to soften, I can. If I need to bring a little energy, I can do that for sure. But, you know, you learn these things along the way. But man, when I put the artist ego on the shelf, and I just started saying yes to the things right in front of me, it opened doors, and opened up a door so big it blew my mind, because I have a friend that knows Rob Thomas, and you know this whole story, Joe, but a few months ago I opened for Rob Thomas in Tucson in front of over 3,000 people, and that was completely out of the blue. I had no idea that my buddy knew him and his management, and when they were looking for a local Arizona artist, he thought of me, gave them my website. When they saw that I was busy, that I was working, you know, and I was doing my thing, and the website looked good, everything, you know, was there, they asked me, you know, and I don't know if I drew anybody, you know, I don't, you know what I'm saying? Like my draws in Phoenix, I don't have much in Tucson, but he didn't need anybody. It was a packed house anyway, you know, It was just clearly random, and just like, I felt like a little blessing, man, that I got the opportunity, and again, confirmation that, you know what, just do what you do, and opportunity, the doors will open, but you have to be willing to put that expectation on the shelf and the artist ego, and just put the nose to the grind and go for it. Yep. You know, now there's nothing wrong with having goals. You know, I've got some artist goals, but that attitude of entitlement and artist ego and the expectation of what success is supposed to look like, when you put that on the shelf, man, it to me, that's opened a big door for me.
Yeah, that's really cool. And I think it actually comes back full circle to you talking about being authentic. You stay authentic to yourself, and doors open up, and you don't have to worry about all those other things.
Right.
Yeah, that's cool. Man. Yeah. So I did have the whole Rob Thomas thing on here, but you just stole the whole question from me. So no, it's cool. The time it was perfect how you segued into it. It's like
it felt like it had flow, so I went with it. Man.
Okay,
this is kind of flowing. I'm gonna roll with it.
Yeah, no, it was perfect. I wanted to find out actually, because you mentioned Rob Thomas. Oh,
Yeah.
before I do that, so how many shows a year do you think you are actually performing at this point?
So now, before we met, see, last year, it was 250-ish in that
Okay.
range, and now my goal is to get it 200, 225,
Yep.
but focus more on quality than quantity.
Yep.
You know, and now I'm set up to do that with my relationship with you and what you're able to help me with, and yeah, and so that's kind of the goal, and then, you know, it's interesting because the more I do online, um, there was some of that lower hanging fruit idea
Mm-hmm.
of my voice and what I've done, and you know, the singing program that I developed, and yeah, it may end up hopefully being even less than that, focusing more on quality.
Yep.
If some of this online stuff can start spinning the way that I want it to, with subscription website and different things like that. But yeah, it's been between 200, 250 for sure on average.
Right, and just to clarify for the listeners so they understand, I part of my role in this is being, you know, being the owner of Onstage Entertainment Group and you working as an exclusive artist with us. But when you're
Mhm.
talking about, excuse me, cutting down on the number, because most people would say, well, okay, now that you have an agency, you know, you should be able to get more work. But our goal, you know, mutually between you and I is that we want them to be more quality gigs, higher paying gigs, so that you
Mhm.
can spend less time out there playing just average gigs and being away from your family, and then you can devote more time to your singing program, which is the part I'm going to get to next. Because you're like a mind reader. You keep going to my I don't know how you do it, but no, it's all good. It's perfect.
Nice,
So
nice.
before we get to the singing program, because that's what's coming next, because I don't want to keep you too long,
Yep.
is besides Rob Thomas, have there been any other, let's say, quote, famous, you know, openings that you've done?
Man, I opened for a lady, and she's got a unique name. I forget her name now, but this was a year and a half, 2 years ago probably. Opened for her at Tempe Center for Performing Arts,
Okay.
and she's a smooth jazz singer. You know, so
Okay.
she's in that smooth jazz circuit.
Yeah.
But she background singer for Stevie Wonder, Bill Withers, like Lou Rawls, like all of these big epic Motown guys. You know, she toured with them for years and years, and yeah, I got to know her people, got to open, and that was a really that was an eye opener for me a couple of years
Right.
ago, because that her demographic was a perfect fit for the more soulful pop stuff
Mm-hmm.
that I've been writing, and yeah, but I mean, besides that, you know, not really. You know, it's been
No,
more
it's cool. You
it's
know,
been more stay at home, you know,
yeah.
focus on the daily grind, and you know, but it's been fun to build a fan base um through these consistent residency gigs and things that are happening in town, and the joy and satisfaction of building a fan base organically, and
Yeah.
not trying to think, how can I get the biggest opening opportunity, or you know, the you know, an immediate million followers, and you know, it's been like, all right, what's the next step?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's, you know, a couple of opportunities, but not a whole lot of big massive openings, but yeah, that's
Yeah,
kind of how it's been.
but the one thing that you have done a fair amount of that, you know, in my intro notes, I'll mention this, but you've done the national anthem for Major League Baseball games, right?
Yeah, yeah, MLB and NBA,
Yeah.
and then for the big Barrett Jackson car auction
Right.
every year for their
Yeah.
opening auction. You know, I do that, and yeah, and that's been cool, man. That's been really a great experience, and that it's interesting because a lot of these bigger opportunities, they don't come very often, but if you collect them all together and you let them be like data, it's like information, like confirmation that, you know what, I have something that's at a level where I can sing in front of 35,000 people at the D-backs game.
Yep.
And they've entrusted me to do that. That says something. And and again, I think every artist needs to take time to collect that data, you know, and it may collect earlier for some, or for me, you know, in my 30s and 40s, you know, I've been collecting some really important data, and you know, I don't feel like I'm too old to do this thing. I don't care what the gatekeepers or whoever in the music industry say about your artist career. What I've learned, I wouldn't trade, you know, and it's been at the right time for me, you know, so it's been a cool process.
Yeah. And it's cool. It's, you know, it sounds like you're living with no regrets, which is kind of cool. You don't worry about that you didn't accomplish certain things at certain times in your life. You're letting it happen the way it happens, and it feels good. And, you know, I have to tell you, man, I got the feedback from one of the corporate clients that you recently did the national anthem at, and he was like, you know, and I believe it was a very male, the audience was mostly men.
Mm-hmm.
And my contact who I worked with on the event to get ready for it, he's like, man, you literally brought everybody to their knees. You know, that's what he said. And when he wrote to me, he's like, he just crushed it. And
oh man,
so it was cool to hear.
It was a team effort, man. That, you know, those guys that did the color guard, you know, they came in, dude. I mean, it like, talk about bringing a respect to the room. You know, these guys handled the flag and brought it in, and that's what set the stage. You know, boom, they come up, walk up right there and set it all in place. And then all I got to do is open my mouth, and I've done the anthem enough, you know, thankfully there's some confidence there, but yeah, it's always a really great experience, man. Thank you for telling me that. Awesome.
Yeah, no, it just, you know, like whatever. Just when he told me, I was like, wow, I wish I was there for that, but I was out of town. But before we get off of the national anthem thing and move to the singing program, when you sing it, what are the different configurations of how you sing it? Are you always doing a cappella? Are you sometimes playing your guitar and singing it? Are you sometimes singing it with tracks?
It's always been a cappella.
Really?
Always.
Wow.
Always been a cappella. And I try to stay pretty true to it. And the reason I do is because I can get lost in a song pretty easy if I get way too emotional or passionate or try to get too fancy with it. Mm-hmm. And that's one of those that, you know, number one, I want to remember the lyrics. That's pretty important. I don't want to get famous on YouTube that way.
Yeah, there's enough bloopers out there, man. You don't need to be one of the statistics for sure.
Right. But when I got done with the D-backs, one of the coaches came out of the D-backs dugout and shook my hand on the way off and said, man, thank you. That was fantastic. Thanks for staying true to the original melody. We appreciate it. Because, I mean, you can only imagine, man, those guys, I mean, they don't sign up for hearing thousands of anthems, but they get it. You know, they get all those anthems over and over again. And I'm sure they've heard a little bit of everything. So, but again, data, you know what I'm saying? Like I took that as like, okay, you know, that's important to a lot of people that they can sing along with you when you do that. So I keep it pretty simple. I add some dynamics and a couple little parts where, you know, when it starts to build, people are okay, like put a little oomph in there and they like it, you know, but I try to stay true to it and do it a cappella. But
cool.
I do have one funny anthem story, dude.
Do it.
So I got asked to sing the anthem for the Rugged Maniac race. It's kind of like the Spartan race. It's its own deal. It's a different brand, but they do like 20 different obstacles, and people have to jump over fire, and then they all drink beer together at the end of this race, and they call it the Rugged Maniac, you know. And so everybody gets rugged and does these races. Well, anyway, they asked me to do the anthem, and they gave me 2 free tickets to run the race. So I hit my brother-in-law up. You know, he likes athletics like I do. Yo, man, let's do this crazy race, and I'm going to sing the anthem. And so I had him record me, and I was getting ready to race, and I was going to go without my shirt on, you know, and I just asked the guys, hey man, can can I sing this without my shirt on? I mean, like, it's Rugged Maniac. He's like, dude, go for it. It's like literally the only time I would ever get a chance to sing the national anthem without my shirt on. It's just totally stupid, but I'm like, and you know, bro, I was like doing like 20, 25 push-ups in the back before I went up.
Right.
Like,
so the veins will be popping out of you.
Literally out of breath. Oh, sick, yeah. Because I was like doing push-ups but it was so ridiculous. I told my brother-in-law, dude, you got to get a video of this, man, because I will never get another chance to sing the national anthem shirtless again in my life.
So do you have that video?
I think so. Yeah, I have to go back on my phone, but
we'll have
anyway.
I'll need to see that.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. All right, cool. Well, here we're going to move on because this is really important. I think, out of all the, obviously we've talked about a lot of great things, but my hope is that this singing program that you've put together will bring a lot of value to people that are like, so here's a prime example. Not that, I would take your program, but I think it is too late for me. So but I mean, I literally, the way I got into college was, I was a classical vocal major because it was the only way I could get in, because I sang in chorus all my life from elementary school. I sang solos with the choir. I did all, and when it came time to go to music school, I was not prepared by my band director.
Right.
And all I wanted to do was play drums, and he always forced me to play sax and all these, like, in the band, but there always had too many drummers, so I could never.
Right.
And that's all I ever wanted to go and do. So in order to get into college, you need to audition on marimba and timpani and snare drum and drum set.
And you weren't ready.
Not ready. So I went and sang, and I got in.
No way, man. Dude, you've been holding back on me. I had no idea.
No. So I think I did either 1.5 or 2.5 years of classical vocal training as a baritone.
Wow.
And sang in all of these musicals, and I don't know how much dancing I did. I probably did a little bit too, but I'm not going to fess up to it. So anyhow, long story short is I think this program is, I would love to be able to sing like you. I'd love to be able to sing pop music. Like, I listen to pop music and I just, to make it sound and have all of the cool things that it needs to have and sound natural. That's never going to happen for me, because I got too much going on, and we'll leave it there. But
right.
I think this program could be really helpful, because obviously, that I get to listen and watch to a lot of entertainers through my business at Onstage. And if they just took some time and effort to put towards these things, I think it could help them go to the next level. It could just, without them even realizing it, it could just bring them way up, because a lot of times that's what you mainly listen to. Nobody's going to critique somebody's strumming of a pop tune while they're singing it, but they're going to really listen to the voice, right?
Exactly.
So like you said, your voice is what's carried you through everything. So so let's talk about this. I'm going to put in the show notes the link of where to get to the program.
Thank you.
And all that other stuff, and at the end we'll talk about that. But for now, what I wanted to do was, my first question was, what is the starting age for somebody to do your program?
I would say I like 10 and up being a good starting age. I again, having kids and noticing kind of the way they learn, that you don't really get much strong interest until somebody is 10 or older. For me, I was interested at 7, and I sang it because I think my dad said, you can do this, here you go, buddy. I'm going to help you learn this song. And I got up there. But again, when I auditioned, when I was 11, for that community play, I wanted to do it, and I enjoyed it, and it ended up being a great experience, So I don't think until, you're over 10, do you really get a hunger for something. And now there's those unique cases, of course we've seen them all, America's Got Talent, and you see these little kids, but the passion It's got to be, they got to be motivated to some extent to put in the time to work on this. And it's a little bit of an invisible instrument. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like it's set inside of our bodies, but we use it every day. And so it can be taken for granted how much of an instrument it is and how much you need to develop it. But I would say 10 and up for sure.
Cool. So do you want to give us an overview of the program, at a high level? And then, like I said, I'll put in the show notes, the link to it, because I know when you go to the website, like you literally lay it out. I looked at the whole program and it's cool. You're literally telling everyone ahead of time what they're going to learn and everything that's involved. But since, this potentially could only be on the podcast and maybe not go on to the YouTube channel where I can, have a visual on there.
Sure.
Can you explain the program itself and how people, how they get involved with doing it with you?
Yeah, absolutely. I shot 63 videos for this thing. So it was a lot of videos. And then I broke it into 12 modules. And so you could really put it into like a 12-week program and take each module 1 week at a time. Or somebody could go straight to something that they're struggling with, but I mean, the big topics for me are, breathing and breath control. That's a big part of it. Placement, where to place the sound in your body so that you can best sing whatever style you want to sing, or sing without strain, or maintain your voice for 3-4 hours at a time and not lose your voice. Like, these are all placement. So that when I hit module 4, I get into the meat of the program. Like 4 through 8 is the meat of the program, and that all has to do with placement and learning how to sing in your mixed voice, which is mixing the chest voice and head voice together. I could sing down here in my chest voice. I could sing up here in my head voice. I could put them both together. Yeah. Like when I put them together, that's the money. That's the power. And that's a lot of people, they're afraid of high notes because they think they just got to float them, or they just don't sing them at all. Or, if they're going to sing it, they're going to end up straining. Well, you're carrying your chest voice too high. If you're straining and you're yelling, you got to mix those two together, what I call the mixed voice. So man, placement and learning how to master your mixed voice, and then vocal health and stage presence. So that pretty much covers everything when you go from breathing to placement to mix to vocal health and stage presence. It's all in there. Everything I've learned in the last 20 years. There's probably a lot of exercises I can expand on, which that, maybe, the 2.0 version, that comes out, but I really tried to get everything in there that helps me be a singer, because I'm a feet on the street singer. I'm not just talking about information. I'm actually using these principles. So the way I've got it set up is people can, they can get it. It's $149 for the entire program. And again, 63 videos, it's a 12-week, 12-module program. But what I was telling you, what I'm working on now, that my wife and I were just talking about, is creating a subscription model. Because what I'm noticing is that even people that are motivated to buy my program, very few go all the way to the end. Very few of them finish. I've got a buddy of mine in Nashville, a very successful investor. He's actually a drummer. His name is Paul, but he also loves to sing. And so he purchased my program outright, and he was honest with me the other day. He said, Mike, I haven't got past the first or second module. And he said, I need the accountability. And so we were talking about maybe doing like a subscription type thing. Hey, pay this small amount a month, and you have access to all, these modules. Every one of, there's 50 vocal warm-ups and exercises in this thing. You have access to all of that, and then you can meet one-on-one with me, either be Zoom or whatever, on a regular basis with a little bit of an upgrade. And then I can tell you how to apply that, and he was telling me from his experience with drum teachers that he uses online, like those have been the most effective. And so, man, that just, turned a light on with me, like, would give people opportunity that maybe don't want to pay the big chunk or whatever, or it would seem too big or too overwhelming. Like, no, here, let me walk you through it. And here's all the information for a real low price. And then let's touch base and let me help you as a mentor. So that's kind of the next stage for me, is kind of developing different pricing points and ways that can best serve people. Cause you know me, man, I'd sing for free. Valuing myself and putting a price on my singing has been one of the hardest things I've had to learn. But I'm realizing, man, I have a gift that's helped me feed my family. And there are a lot of people that ask me, right now I'm doing a lot of online, Facebook lives, and everybody says, man, how can I sing like you? I always get those questions. As a matter of fact, when I stepped off the stage at Rob Thomas, one of the stage hands said, man, I want to sing like you. And I said, well, I do happen to have a program. 3 days later, he purchased the program. And I was able to kind of pitch it to him, and I don't know how far he's got in the program, but like, I'm a walking billboard. I sing all the time, and people want access. But for me, I'm concerned about people having the best access possible and it being easy, man. I want it to be easy for them to learn from me. And there's obviously going to be a lot of free content as well, that I'm trying to put out more and more. But yeah, that's kind of the overview of the program, and that's what it looks like. And I don't know if that answers your question.
No, totally, that's it. Yeah. And it's cool. I think it's a good idea. I've been involved in some, just business type programs where the whole thing of doing subscription based and walks you through the process, and you kind of check off that you've done week 1, and it makes you then say, okay, now you're on to week 2. And you walk them through. And then the other cool thing that you might think of that you and I've never talked about, so we're going to do it live right here, right now, is you might want to do like a private Facebook group of the people that have bought your program.
Yeah.
And so they can, it's a place for encouragement and say, hey, I'm working on week 2 and I'm working on the breathing part or whatever it is. And I'm just, for some reason, this always happens when I try to hit this note or whatever. And it creates this community. And then as long as you're active in that group and you're kind of, encouraging people, that it's an extra amount of Michael Land cares. It's just like he didn't sell his program and he doesn't, he's not involved any longer. It's like you're literally in there.
I love that, man. Yeah. I love that because I've never felt good about, let me just get their money and move on. That's not what.
Well, you're not that kind of guy anyhow. So you should never. It's not in your blood, so you shouldn't feel bad.
That's what's been hard about me, and why I've hesitated in marketing this thing is because not having a community aspect set up that allows me to, because I think right up there with singing is my relational side, and enjoying connecting with people. That goes hand in hand for me, I can't just sing to a screen nonstop and there be no interaction. Like I know that's why I couldn't just be an online singer. Like I need to see people, man. Even if you're sitting and eating dinner and they're not actively listening, I know that I'm creating an ambiance for these people and I'm a part of what's going on. And there is a relational aspect. So I think that's great, man. I love that idea. So I'm going to write that down as soon as I get off here, bro. You know I am. So.
All right. So real quick, because we're close. I actually wanted to go an hour, and this is cool because we're awesome. Like right on the money. Even though you might have wanted to like cut out 30 minutes ago.
I'm good, man. Hey, man, you don't have to twist my arm to talk about singing and all this stuff that I love, bro. You know that.
So, what is your ultimate goal moving forward with your career?
I think it's having an authentic brand that people can access and be better because of it. And feeling the satisfaction of knowing that I've made every effort possible to leverage my gift to the world. Like that's really that's the goal. I'm going to keep writing music. I'm going to keep promoting my music. I'm going to keep singing, keep sharing my love for music. But I think it really is having, staying authentic and having a brand that's accessible to the world. If the world wants it, at least it's accessible and where everybody can access it. And it's great being, a local artist with a local fan base, and that's been healthy for me. But now I'm at the point where I'm like, how can I take this and then give this to the world if the world wants it? And we live in a day and age where that's totally possible.
Yep.
It's just hard for me to approach new things. It really is. Like when I feel something new comes, I freak out, man, and the emotions get involved. And that's why, having the balance of a good wife or a good brother like Joe, like you, where you can just say, no, it's just business. Just do this, or just price it at this, or just here's what you say, or here's how you lay it out. And you just need a system, put a system, like these types of things that aren't my strength, but that's the speed bump that I'm hitting right now of like, all right, and now it's time to get it in place, because that is the ultimate goal, is to make my gift accessible to the world and make sure that it stays authentic. That's it, bro.
Well, like it or not, brother, it's out there now, because when this gets published, the world's going to know about it.
Come on, man.
Yeah,
it's exciting.
You're going to get busy. Before I let you go, is there anything else that I forgot to mention that any subjects that we didn't touch upon?
Man, I think that's it, man. I think you just helped me with the CAR thing, the consistency, the attitude, and relationships. That right there, man, I think kind of sums it up for me. And I mean, you could put integrity in there as well, like it's all part of it, and if I were something different outside these doors that I was with this crew behind me on this picture with my family, what I'm saying? Like, we notice that, and that stuff is elevated in our society when you see somebody that's, that lacks integrity. And that's why, I am a man of faith, and these things are important for me, man, to stay true to who I am. But that, I can't think of anything else, man. It was so thorough, and just honored, man, to be the first, to be a part of the show, the Joe Costello Show. That's got a ring to it, man.
Hey,
come on,
let's hope so. All right. So the last thing is, where can people find you on the internet? Like, give all your handles wherever they can find you.
So the three main ones, the website, michaellandmusic.com, MICHAELLAND music.com. And then on Facebook, my Facebook fan page is facebook.com/MichaelLandMusic. And then on Instagram, it's @RealMichaelLand. And that's those are the main three that I use. And the website has the singing program on there. You just click on the singing program tab, or click down, you'll see a video on that. And I'm always accessible for questions. People always hit me up, personal messages on Facebook or Instagram, and I love that. I love being able to talk to people and connect, and that's just going to get better the more and more, whether it be like you're talking about a private Facebook group or something that just makes it all more accessible. That's the goal. But those are the three main spots.
Well, awesome, brother. Well, listen, this was really special for me. I've been wanting to do this with you we talked about it for so long, and and this is exciting to have you on here, and to let everyone understand who you are, what you're about. Let them listen to your music, and then hopefully people that need help with their voice and singing sign up for the singing program, and hopefully more and more people that live in the Arizona area will come out and see you play at the resorts and different venues and things like that. So I'm really glad we could do this, and I appreciate your time, man.
Hey, man, my privilege, Joe. I appreciate it, man. I'm honored, and I love to see the action, man. The fact that you're getting this done. Action is contagious, man. It's good. It's good. You got me fired up, man. You really do.
Good.
Thank you.
All right, brother. All right. Thank you so much.
You bet, man. My privilege.